Hey Google, restart video.
Hey everyone, Scott Innes, voice actor, Hollywood actor, movie star. Don't believe all that. I'm a legend in my own mind. Hey, you know me better as the voice of some of the most popular cartoon characters in the world. Scooby Dooby Doo, Scrappy Dappy Doo, Puppy Power, like and Shaggy too. And you've got the Sullivan Project podcast. It's coming at you right now.
Hey Google, stop. Hey everyone, what's up? It's the Sullivan Project podcast. I'm your host, Harold Sullivan, and we got Chris back here for some more scary movie talk. Hey Chris, what's up?
What's up?
Not much. Hey man, just enjoying life, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you.
Checking out stuff. I'm actually listening to the audio version of Halloween Kills, the book based on the movie. So I'm going to check it to see if it's any better than, because remember I told you I didn't even like that movie at all. It was terrible. So the third one there. So the book's a little bit better so far. I'm like 2 hours into it. It's like a 9 hour audio book. So I'm up to I'm up to the point where the boy cuts his hand, with the milk or whatever, goes to the hospital, and then he meets Laurie Strode's granddaughter in Halloween Kills.
Yeah.
That's the part I'm up to in the audio book. Yeah, so I'm just checking it out just to see if I can follow it any better because that movie was just I couldn't do it. Hey Google, what time is it?
6:33.
Okay. No, it's okay. So yeah, so I thought of some more horror trivia, a little bit harder ones, and like we were talking about before, we have almost 100 years worth of movie, movies, TV shows, horror movie knowledge. Yeah, like we know so much about all this stuff, and when we're gone, that generation, nobody's gonna know about all this old classic stuff. Everybody has to go on YouTube to find out. They did a poll recently about the people who thinks LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan, right? And most of them people had never even seen Michael Jordan play. Like, how can you have an opinion if you've never even seen something? So uh, this is you know what I mean. This is people need to hear about movies or whatever because then they go out and check it out, and then they might not hear it anywhere else. These particular movies. So we grew up in the '80s, right? So that's kind of those are my favorite. Were those your favorite movies? The '80s? Was that your
Yeah,
era?
sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, the '80s for all movies. I mean, even sci-fi. Action. You got the Indiana Jones and the Star Wars. You got all these different. They're just
Night of the Creeps. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, for as far as horror, yeah, that's your favorite movie. So we'll have to talk about that too, because I remember you told me. Well, let's do some trivia. Also, let me tell people if you want to be on those podcast or if you want us to talk about a certain thing, the Sullivan Project podcast. We're on YouTube, Harold Sullivan 78, TikTok, Harold Sullivan 78, and Facebook, Harold Sullivan period 35. So yeah, some trivia. We'll do horror news or horror nerd trivia. I got a couple questions for you here, a little bit harder than the last time, like I said. And let's see here.
What's me get them wrong?
Yeah, a couple. No, you'll get them, I'm sure, because I know them, and I didn't. I'm trying to do these off the top of my head, and then when they get harder, maybe I'll like Google harder ones to ask you. But these are all ones that, I mean, if I know them, I think you'll know. Most of these are Nightmare on Elm Street. This time, I didn't realize I was just picking some kind of hard ones. But let's see here. Nancy's mom in A Nightmare on Elm Street. What is Nancy's mom's first name?
Marge.
Marge, okay. Do you remember the actress for bonus? Do you know her name? The actress that played Marge Thompson. Do you know her name?
Then Shay, was it?
No, but that is actually Bob Shea, who, that's his wife, though. She's in a
Yeah.
bunch of horror movies. Yeah, he was the guy who gave Wes Craven a chance and founded New Line Cinema. No, it's actually Ronnie Blakely,
Oh, okay.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got that. Okay, what about? Do you remember the name of the book that Nancy read and she gave it to Glenn? And,
Oh man.
and the first Nightmare on Elm Street. Johnny Johnny Depp.
Booby traps and anti-personnel devices.
Yeah, that was part of it. That was like the last half of it. That was the subtitle or whatever.
Yeah, 'cause she said she was into survival or something.
Yeah, but that
Yeah.
was that was the that was the part of the book title, but that wasn't the title. That was like the subtitle of it.
It's been so long. Yeah.
Yeah, but these are neat little. It was called Baseball Bats and Boogeyman.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, a weird title, right? Baseball Bats and Boogeyman, and then like you said, something about uh, I forget what you said about the traps and all that. Yeah, it was just a neat little thing. I don't even know if it was a real book. Okay, so we got those two, and then I got oh, Nightmare on Elm Street. One of the movies actually had a female director. Do you know which one?
Rachel Talalay.
You got it. Which movie was it? Which part?
Freddy's dead.
Part six.
Wasn't it?
Yep. Freddy's Dead, Part six. Yeah, isn't that different? You wouldn't know that unless you're a fan. And I believe Part five was written by a female, a lady, uh, the Dream Child. Or,
Dream Child. Stephen Hawkins directed that.
yeah, it was directed, but I think the idea and a woman maybe wrote it because she was going through something like a pregnancy, and then she came up with the idea because she found out that babies actually do dream and stuff. So it was a way to bring Freddy back. You know what I mean? It was always like, oh, let's find out the craziest idea to bring Jason or Freddy back. You know what I mean? So, okay, so we got, how many is that so far? We got the female director, right?
The book.
Did the book. Female director, I've got 5 questions. The female director, the book, Nancy's mom, and then I got a Friday the 13th question. Oh, okay, here's one more. Nightmare on Elm Street. Part 4. And Joey is in the waterbed, right?
Yeah.
And the lady comes up, and Freddy, what does Freddy say before he kills him? What's the...
How's this for a wet dream?
There you go. Yeah, that was funny, wasn't it? That was just for one dream. He also said that in the new one too, the remake. Jackie Earl Haley.
Jackie Earl Haley said that. Yeah.
When the girl was walking up the steps, right, in that pudding stuff or whatever, I didn't like that. That marshmallow, that was silly. It didn't even fit there. But okay, and then I got another one here. Friday the 13th, and it has a couple bonus questions. When the camp counselors are there, and they're listening to a song on the radio right before the kids pull up on the bus to come to the summer camp on Friday the 13th, Part 6, when they renamed it Forest Green. So there's a song playing in the background on the radio. Do you remember the name?
Right when the kids pull up
Yeah.
on the school bus?
Yeah. There's a song like sitting on a table or something, I don't know, and then she says, I can only think of one thing more scary than Jason. And they're like, what? And then the kids pull up. But they're listening, there's a song playing in the background. I think it's on the radio.
Yeah, I can barely hear it. Yeah.
Well, you're going to know what it is as soon as I say it. He's back.
The man behind the mask.
Yeah, that's where they put it in. That's why it's on the soundtrack, because it's playing there and they kind of fit it in there. And you wouldn't notice it, but then you're like, okay. And then here's another one, actually, in the van, or in the camper. The dude's driving the camper, right, and he gets the nail or the knife stuck in his head. He's listening to a song on the radio. Do you know the name of that song? And he's jamming to it. He got it played too loud. He can't hear the girl.
Teenage Frankenstein.
There you go. You got it. And then, how about who's the singer of the band?
Alice Cooper.
Alice Cooper, up on the soundtrack. There you go. So you got most of them. I knew you'd get pretty much all of them there.
Yeah, Alice Cooper sent a ton of songs in that.
Yeah, he was on the soundtrack, so it was just so cool to have that. Oh, and here's another fact about that movie. I believe that was the only Friday the 13th that actually had campers, or like children at the camp. All the other
Yeah,
ones,
I believe so.
they were all
Yeah.
abandoned. Yeah, it was abandoned all the other times. Well, here was a bonus question because I have forgot one of them and then I remembered it. In the original Halloween, I'm sure you're gonna know. Uh, what year did Michael Myers, when he was a boy, kill his sister? He's
1963.
right. Okay, there you go.
6 years old.
Yeah, there. I was gonna ask that for a bonus if I had. See, you got all. See, I mean, this is stuff that a lot of fans would know, but then most wouldn't. You know what I mean? Unless you've seen the stuff over and over. But these are pretty cool little things. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm going to send out here my number here to the Sullivan Project podcast. There's another way to get in touch with us. It's 724-513-1472. And we talk about all kinds of stuff. And me and Chris, man, we've gone back into childhood as friends. But a lot of it, we just, like I said, the 80s was scary movies. I mean, you had,
Oh, the 80s was the best. Yeah.
after Halloween 78, right, there was literally hundreds of scary movies in the next couple of years, knocking off Halloween, most of them. What was it, April Fools, Silent Night, or was that before that? Because there was one in the 70s. Was that
Bloody Murder.
Bloody Murder? Oh my gosh. There were, New Year's Evil, Friday the 13th. There was so many. Oh, then you said Night of the Creeps, yeah, so that's one of your favorite. And a lot
That's
of people,
my favorite. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people don't even know. So what's what's the plot? What happens in this, and what's the creatures, or what is this? There's something, because I barely remember. There's like some slugs or something in it, like
Yeah, slugs. Yeah.
like slither little, and then
Slug-like extraterrestrials. Yeah.
they come down from somewhere and they crash off of something, or
Yeah, they come down from space from aliens. Yeah, off a ship.
oh, off a ship. Okay, and then they get into people. Do they control them, or what goes on there?
Oh, they get into people's mouths and lay eggs in their brain, and then they
And then a whole bunch more.
walk around while they incubate. And
Ooh, okay.
yeah.
And then a whole bunch of them just comes out of it at one point. They just explode. The bugs out.
Well, the purpose of spreading more of them around is what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they give
Yeah.
birth, though. So that when they're done, they just give birth. They explode. All the bugs come out, and then they go find other people.
Yeah, their head explodes, and then more comes out. Yeah.
Ooh. Speaking of that, remember Scanners? That one movie.
Yeah, that was pretty.
Oh God, that used to get me as a kid. Late at night. You remember how late at night you'd stay up as a kid to watch stuff, and you'd always get punished because you would watch stuff that was scary, and then you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, that's too scary."
Yeah, you can't sleep. It's like
Yeah, like HBO, like late at night, they would come on, right? And then you'd get to movies like Scanners, and you would be like, "Oh man, this movie's so cool." But then up until that point where the head explodes, it's like, "Oh gosh," and you can't figure out how to do even the thing, with the coming out of the stomach and all that, and I saw
Yeah.
that years later. Oh, some of this
That's
vision,
pretty cool.
the visual, yeah, where the stomach just opens up as a hand, like a teeth, and this is sick here. You know what I mean? The visuals, they don't, now it's CGI, right? It'd be crap. It's not the same. It would be computer generated. It would not be. It wouldn't even look the same because they're not there. They can't actually touch it, and it doesn't. I would rather have the tubes of like blood squirting on somebody than the fake CGI, the blood that's fake on them. You know, it's going to get to the point where actors and actresses don't even have to get blood, don't get bloody. They just put the CGI blood on, later on,
Yeah.
and that's a shame. They won't need movies. They won't need actors anymore. Actresses. They can make computer people. Like Avatar. So, what's the last scary or last horror movie you watched? Last scary movie? Do you remember?
Oh, I don't even remember.
Oh man, it's been a long time.
See, they did another Scream. It's coming out next Friday.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing on the commercial, and I want to Google it. It's calling it Scream 5. Well, wasn't there just 2 years ago?
Scream 6, it is.
Yeah, well, it's Scream 5 in the books. So I guess this just Scream, and there's 2 Screams now.
How many of them they're going to make before they finally decide
and 2 TV shows that didn't work, right? You know what I mean? Because they've had it on MTV twice. They did a TV show for 2 seasons or so, Scream, and then they turned around and said, well, that didn't count. Let's remake it. Like, I just couldn't do it. And I thought it was going to be okay. Like, I actually watched 1 episode. That's before I lost my sight. And I was like, okay, MTV could do Scream as a TV show. You know what I mean? And I heard years ago that Hellraiser was supposed to be Showtime or one of them was going to pick up Hellraiser as a
I
TV
don't
show.
know. Nobody picked it up though. I don't think.
No, nobody did yet. Uh, I just heard there's a new Planet of the Apes movie coming out. I don't know what the deal is with that. If it's continuing on. Oh yeah, you said you had never seen a Planet of the Apes before.
No, I'm not a real big
No,
big fan of that.
it's kind of different. They're kind of like drawn out, but it's more like
I
a.
probably would like it if I. My mom has all of them.
Oh,
So
okay, yeah. What? Hey Google, what time is it?
It's 6:47.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're kind of. I don't know how many original was. There was some books too, but there was like 6 or 7 of them, and then they come out with 3 or 4 new ones. And now it's just CGI, so it's just it looks great, but it's like the new Godzilla. You see Godzilla versus Kong? You know,
no, I didn't.
it's not the same. I mean, they're CGI, and
There's a couple of them they made.
yeah. Well,
I seen the
Godzilla,
first one.
he was okay, but
Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't nothing special or anything.
it's like the original ones. You know, the guy in the cheap rubber suit was just something funny about it. It was just something different, scary, kind of. You know, in Tokyo, they made 20 something. Godzilla, I believe Godzilla has a record for most movies that people don't know. And if I'm wrong, let me know. You know, let us know on the show. I think it's, I don't know, 30 or 40 movies made. You know, remakes and everything, Godzilla. And then somewhere up in there is like James Bond because there's like 20 something movies or more of him. And then I don't even know, you know. But I do know Jason is up in there with, what, 12 now or something like that altogether?
Something like that.
If you count Freddy versus Jason, as far as horror movies, well, you got a whole bunch of Hellraisers. I don't even know. That might be more. There might be more Hellraisers now.
Yeah, they kind of did like a bunch of spin-offs on that.
Because I quit at Hellraiser 10, right? It was Hellworld. And that actually had the guy that played the new Superman, Henry Cavill. And I'm like, wait a minute, this guy's familiar. And I went back and he was real young in that. And he just played one of them people that got killed, a young guy, like a college guy or teenage guy. Henry Cavill, or whatever, Cavill. But yeah, but it was, then they did a remake and then another one or a couple, I don't know. They did it without Doug Bradley, without the original Pinhead. You just can't do that.
Yeah, the original Pinhead was the best.
You know, you just can't put makeup on another guy and have him talk with a deep voice. Same with Freddy. I mean, I think eventually they'll find. Kevin Bacon been trying to petition online for a while. And he wants to actually play Freddy. You know, if somebody could come at it a different way, you know, I'm not opposed.
Kevin Bacon wanted to play Freddy?
Yeah, and
Oh my god.
he's been in for. Well, he wants to play him now, like at this age. You know what I mean? And he could do something deep with that. If you imagine him shave his head, put the makeup on, have him be a little creepy. He's been creepy in a bunch of movies. You know, he's played some
Yeah.
pretty nasty dudes in some movies. So, and I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do with it. Like I said, I wish they'd do the Springwood Slasher. Do something, bring Robert back. Well, I don't know. Restart it with. I don't know. I just don't want them to ruin it like they do with Halloween again. You know, and Friday the 13th. Who knows what's going on? Speaking of that, if you, you know, back when they weren't bringing out like until they had the remake, right? The remakes there was so many years without any of the movies, right? Freddy, Jason, Halloween. What did you have any ideas? Like, what would you have like if they came out with a sequel back? What would you have like to see them go? What direction? Like any of the movies, like Halloween, or you know,
Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2?
yeah. No, I mean after like Freddy's. Well, after New Nightmare, Freddy's dead. If they would have continued on that like that line, where I don't even know how they could have did that really, huh? Because if Freddy's
him back after his head exploded. No.
and Freddy's dead, all the kids were all dead. So how could you continue on?
I don't know. I just think it'd be kind of cool to bring Freddy back again.
Yeah, but well, do you have or Friday the 13th? But I mean, like for sequels to the originals, did you have any? Where did you think they should have went? You know, any of them?
I don't know. There's been so many ideas now.
Yeah.
Wouldn't even know how to fix one.
Or any for a remake, like if they were to remake it with a different twist. You know, I heard Kane Hodder actually wrote a couple of scripts for Friday the 13th. But when I went to the Comic Con, I asked them a couple questions, but I just or the horror convention. It was in, I think it was Cinema
Yeah.
Wasteland or Horror Hound. It was in Ohio, but I forgot to ask him that, like what his ideas were, because he had a couple what he wanted Jason to like, where he would have took Jason. Uh, Before the remake and all that, And it was even before Freddy versus Jason. I know it was right after Freddy versus Jason. So if I ever get to, I'll
Kane
ask him.
Hodder didn't even play Jason.
No, I don't know I still don't know what happened with that. They keep blaming it on the director Ronnie Yu or whatever,
Ronnie Yu, yeah,
the,
he was the director
the
of that.
Bride of Chucky director, Seed of Chucky, who's never seen, he said never seen a Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street movie, but he got the directing job doing the most important movie out of both franchises. You know, and they said
And he never seen it, yeah.
yeah, but they said they wanted a fresh look. You do not need, you don't, no, you don't want a fresh look. Nobody else would take the job. That's what the deal was, because they didn't want to screw it up because they were fans, and plus the script was better than the movie. Just the script got butchered up. The movie got made. He was afraid of water, Jason, and all that. That wasn't in the script. The part where, like you said, Kelly Rowland makes fun of Freddy talking about butter knives, Christmas sweater. That's not in the script either. They just, what was his name? Damien and Swift, right? That wrote the script. They were fanboys like us. And they actually wrote the remake to Friday the 13th, which I didn't mind. I was a little confused at the beginning where that part happened, and 6 weeks later, they pick up the story, right? Where the girl's caged down below, she gets away and then gets caged again.
Yeah.
A lot of that did. And Jason all of a sudden is so smart that he got all these traps set up and things down below ground and they're trying to explain too much. This is how he pops up everywhere. You know what? He's just smart. He knows his ground. He knows where he lives, right? He don't need to have bells ringing underground, so he knows when someone's above ground. Like, isn't that kind of? We don't need that. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, he had that den where he was too.
yeah, I don't mind that because it was kind of like his shack, and the other ones they just updated it. The shack with the head. You know, I, I had some ideas. Remember, I told you I had written some fan fiction back years ago after all that, but most of mine were crossovers like Freddy versus Ash, and I was continued on, and I had Jacob, right? Jacob from Alice and Jacob from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, and I had Alice had moved out of Elm Street, so technically uh, she can take Freddy with her, right? And so Jacob starts to dream of Freddy. But guess what? Jacob gets a job at the Quickie, or the Smart S Mart. So so Jacob and Alice live in whatever state that it's in. I forgot what. And then Ash, runs the S Mart, and then Jacob works at the S Mart, and that's how Ash and Freddy end up running into each other. And then I actually did a Nightmare on Elm Street. I wrote a script called Nightmares to Children of Elm, and it was a prequel. It was between Freddy's Dead and Freddy versus Jason, because like I said, it didn't make sense. And then in Freddy's Dead, or in Freddy versus Jason, remember how Freddy said, or Freddy had came back 4 years earlier, right? But they didn't explain what happened, and killed Lori's mom and just some dumb stuff. Then all them kids got locked up, right? That happened 4 years later. But Freddy was technically in hell, so because at the end of Jason goes to hell, Jason or Freddy's glove pulls the mask
Under the
down.
sand.
Yeah, huh? At the end of Jason Goes to Hell, remember Freddy's glove comes
Yeah,
up and
yeah.
pulls the mask.
Freddy's glove comes up and pulls Jason's mask
Yeah.
down into the sand.
So then that means Freddy and Jason are in hell, right? So then 4 years later, somehow Freddy comes out of hell and he terrorizes the kids again, and then gets sent back to hell, and then sends Jason to Elm Street after that. But that's the only way it makes sense, right? So I wrote a story in between the two, because you have to have a movie to connect them, and it takes place mostly at Weston Hills, and we actually have Nancy's diary involved, which I thought was a neat little. I brought that back, because what happened to Nancy's diary? So I brought it back as kind of an old thing and kind of to stir up stuff again, and then it was just, and the parents kind of know about it. And what happens is Freddie, to tie it up, I had where Freddie kills Lori's mom on purpose as kind of a warning. Look, quit messing with me and let the kids fall asleep because I need to get what I need to get. And if you don't, I'm just gonna kill everybody. Because Freddie could kill them all and get to them all. So Lori's mom was kind of like a, just a sign from Freddie, hey, I ain't messing around. So that was one of the stories that I had written years ago, and it was pretty neat. It was a lot into character, like the kids, how messed up they were. Will and Mark, remember how they got sent to that institute, Weston Hills, and they got put on that medicine so they wouldn't dream anymore. See, Freddie,
Michelle.
yeah, Freddie didn't want that to happen, so he was doing what he could. So he took out, Lori's mom. Uh, but they never explained all that stuff why. So I kind of wrote it out, wrote it in there, and how that dad worked at the hospital, right? And because Freddie's dead didn't make any sense, most of it. But those were a few ideas there. But we're about to wrap up here the podcast, and we'll come back and we'll do some more video or some more video and audio. But we'll do some more questions, or we'll think of some other. I mean, we got all kinds of stuff we can do, you know. Or watch some
Yeah.
stuff. Maybe if you watch one before next time, you could do a review and tell me what you thought of it. Or if you get a new movie you watch that you haven't checked out yet, you can check that out.
Yeah, I haven't gotten any new ones yet.
Nothing
Check
good.
out.
Nothing.
But,
Nothing. Yeah, nothing new comes out, man. So
yeah, then I got Halloween Ends the other day. I bought that.
yeah, that's what I mean. I got the audio book I'm listening to now. It's better than the movie, but it wasn't good. I didn't like it. I didn't get it. So, well, we're signing off here, and remember, be the light, and love is a choice, and so's the hate.